Hi, hello. I'm your host, Keith Arthur, and welcome to CareerExpo, What You've Always Wanted to Know, the podcast where each week I interview someone of a different career and industry. In the Navy and at sea, boot camp and fleet week, drop and give me 50. This week our guest has worked as a Navy petty officer. He's afraid of clowns, his favorite football team is the Chicago Bears, and he's my brother. Please welcome to the podcast, Jason DiRienzo. Jay, what's up?
What's up? Thanks for having me on.
Sunglasses?
Yeah, it got pretty bright.
Okay, well, can take them off so people can see you for just what you look like? Okay, you can put it back on if you want. I just want to make sure that people know you have eyes.
This is what I look like.
This is what you look like. So we're here. We're at my mom's house in Tampa Bay, Florida. It's scorching hot. It's a little bit later in the afternoon, so it's not terrible.
Not too bad, though.
It's not too bad.
It's not summer Florida heat yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
But we're here, and we're also doing a video, so you might be watching. So thank you for watching, and thank you for listening. But Jay, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good.
Yeah?
I'm glad to be on here with you and kind of discuss something I haven't talked about in a long time.
I know, you did a beach run.
I did.
You're a little energized, maybe?
A little energized.
Okay.
A little worn out, but energized at the same time from the workout, you know?
Okay, good,
Yeah.
good. So we're going to get into all things being in the Navy. But first, why don't you tell us where and how you grew up, and then what led you to get into the Navy?
Yeah, so I actually grew up here in Clearwater, Florida. Thank God I went into the Navy, and I was in Japan for 4 years. It would be kind of a boring story if you really think about it. But yeah, I grew up here, and then really was fascinated by the water because we grew up right here on the beach in a way. So I've always loved the water, and I knew that I wanted to be in the military. So I wasn't going to go anywhere like the Army or something and get stuck in the middle of Kansas. Like I knew if I joined the Navy, at least I'd be by the water no matter where I got stationed. So that was a plus. So that was kind of an easy one for me. And my buddy Kevin was going to go in with me. Now he didn't end up going in, but his brother was in the Navy. So I had some pointers from Brian. And Brian gave me a little bit more confidence about what I was about to expect when I went in. So that made it a lot easier of a process.
So we know that we want to join the Navy. We're familiar with water.
Yep.
We want to be in the military. And then you have this friend who also can kind of give you a one-up on the inside scoop. Tell us, what is the process for maybe joining the military and joining the Navy in the United States?
Gotcha. So when I first started trying to figure out what I wanted to do, Brian made me aware, and Brian's the one who's in the Navy already. Mm-hmm. He made me aware, like, when you go into the Navy, he's like, there's two things that you want to make sure. You want to make sure that you get part of the air department, because if you're not, then you're going to be put on what they call a small boy, which is like a small destroyer or a ship, and there's only going to be like so many people on the boat, and he's like, it's not the best experience, and you're labeled as a seaman, and I didn't want to be labeled.
You didn't want to be
I wanted to be an airman. Right? So he's like, make sure that you do the air department. And I was like, that's perfect, because then he's like, also you'll be part of, something that has to do with like the airport part of it, which is your aircraft carriers or something with helos or something like that, where there's a lot more experience.
What is a helo?
A helicopter.
Oh, yeah. I knew that.
Yeah. So I was like, that's perfect. That's perfect for me, because I don't want to get stuck inside. I want to be outside. I want to do something active. I don't want to be in an office. So I'm like, I'm glad you told me that, because I wouldn't have known, and I would have gone in and asked to be just in the Navy, not knowing what to expect. So I'm definitely happy Brian told me to do that. So anyway, when you join, what they do is they have you sign up, and you go to a recruiter, and they go through this whole process of, your college education or high school education at that time, anything you've done in the past that they need to be aware of, because then you go in with a waiver. That's like a probationary period in a way.
Oh, if you did something bad?
Exactly.
Oh.
So they have you on a waiver. So if you do something and get in trouble, you have a shorter span of tolerance than the average person would, of whether they would honorably or dishonorably discharge you. So anyway, you go through the whole process. There's a whole waiting period as far as when they tell you that you'd be, going to boot camp. I think I had like 2 months in between the time that I actually signed up to the time I went to boot camp.
Okay.
So it gave me a little bit of time to kind of prepare, mentally get ready for that, mentally get ready to like leave a place that I've grew up my entire life to go to something that I had no idea what I was about to get myself into.
Okay.
So it's just kind of nice to have that time period. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
And I was, by the time I got like to the point where I was going to boot camp the next day, like I was ready. Like I built that up in my mind to be prepared for that.
So we decide we're gonna do the airman. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Not the seaman thing.
Not the
Not
seaman.
the water boy. What
Not-
do you call it? The
So basically,
what is it called? The water boy?
no, it's
What is it?
you.
Boy? It was something boy.
Small boy.
Small boy.
Small boy.
We're not a small boy. We're an
yeah,
airman.
because it's one thing to be on a ship that, and they call it listing. So when a ship lists, it's when it kind of rocks.
Oh,
You know what I
okay.
mean? So if you're a smaller ship, it's not the best experience.
You're gonna barf everywhere.
You could barf everywhere,
Right.
and there's only so many jobs that you are capable of doing on that ship, and a lot of it, if you're not on top,
Okay.
you're going to be inside somewhere the entire time you're
Right.
out to sea, and I did not want that.
Okay, so we're an airman. We're not
Right.
a small boy. We're in the Navy. We're gonna get to boot camp in a second.
Right.
But I want to know. Can you break down for me and the listeners the military in the United States? There's the branches, how they work, why you chose this one. Is one above the other? Are they equal? Give me the rundown, the flow chart of the military, if you can.
So really, you have the Marines, and the Marines are like a very special unit as far as how they train. They're kind of more forward deployed, if you want to call it that. And what that means is that when something happens, like Iraqi freedom or something like that, they're one of the first ones that go on special missions.
Okay.
So, like, I was definitely interested in that point of it because
But they're water too.
they're also water and land based.
Okay.
Now, you have the reason why I chose the Navy is because I was actually training because I wanted to be a SEAL. And Navy SEALs, it's the sea, air, and land portion of it.
That's what that means.
Well, that's part of it.
See, what?
It's, yeah, the SEALS. So it's basically sea, air, and land.
Oh
Right.
my gosh.
And then, so if you get into the SEAL program, they send you to what they call BUDS. And BUDS is their boot camp, basically, for basic underwater demolition. Right?
Oh.
So you get trained to understand how to perform underwater with, arsenal and different,
you
tactics.
guys like
and
Cirque du
different things like
Soleil,
that.
the water show in
Sure.
Vegas.
Yeah.
But okay, so the point of the military in the United States is it's an offense and a defense. We're attacking, but we're defending, right?
Always.
Always. So we have the Marines, the Navy, the Army, and the Air Force.
Correct. I mean, those are your basics.
And then
you have National Guard.
what's that?
And Coast Guard. Those are more like home-based, like
Okay.
domestic-based.
And what's the Peace Corps? Is that something?
That
That's
is-
nothing to do with the military.
I mean, if you want to look at it, the Peace Corps is something that they do their own missions, but that is more for like peace treaties and different things like
Okay.
that. But I don't know a ton about that.
Okay, got it. Okay, so you chose the Navy, water, because you want to be a Navy SEAL. Marines does not have that option, so we're in the Navy.
Right.
Tell me about, you have the 2-month break between signing up and then going to boot camp for your training.
Right.
What was boot camp like? Where did you do it? How does it work?
I will say this: the one thing that I missed on that I just remembered is you go to what they call MEPS
MEPS?
before you go into boot camp. MEPS is when you first basically get yourself, signed on.
Uh-huh.
You have to go. I think it was 1 or 2 days in Tampa, and they go through rigorous evaluation of you, where they do
Like
physical
mental?
exams,
Oh.
everything.
Okay.
And this is also so you have a full day of this where they just check everything out, just to make sure that they know exactly what they're getting. They know if there's any issues that they need to be aware of before
They should
you
do that
go
with
to
the
boot camp.
president.
Wouldn't that be great? I gotta think that they do.
Okay, anyway.
Because because at the end of that day is when you get sworn in.
Sworn in.
Right. So you are sworn in and you've officially become a part of the military and you're no longer a civilian.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. What happens if you're no longer a civilian?
So now you are under basically the laws of the military. So there's the court martial, you are under a different law than you are as a civilian.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like
Even the courts and everything are completely different.
Like, give
for
me an
you.
example. Like, if I tip over a fruit stand and I'm in the military
So the MPs or military police would be the ones
to arrest you,
No, you would get arrested by
the normal people.
the normal, but then you would be turned over to the military.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's different.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's like Okay.
So MEPS was a big portion of what I had to do
Before boot camp.
before boot camp. So they knew exactly what was wrong and all that jazz.
How long, I guess, for the Navy are you, and we're going to get into also your actual role, which is petty officer,
Right.
and we're going to describe all that, but how long is your boot camp training?
Boot camp, man. I went in October 2nd, I believe, in Great Lakes, Illinois, Chicago area. Huh? And I think I graduated toward the end of December.
Okay, so a few months.
Couple months.
For boot camp.
Yeah.
What is boot camp like?
Honestly, Navy boot camp is not that bad.
Oh, really?
It's really not that bad. I think the hardest thing that you initially have to deal with, let's put it this way. And here's the thing. I think you and I were prepared differently for life because being yelled at did not faze me at all. Like, not even for a second.
I guess, yeah, I kind of.
There are people that were breaking and cracking.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could scream in my face all day long, and it's just like, okay, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
it did not faze me. And so that was the hardest thing for a lot of people, was to be reprimanded and yelled at.
Mm-hmm.
But we come from an Italian family. Like,
Our dad's a yeller.
Yeah,
he was
like,
a yeller.
I was born for this. Like,
I
whatever.
got yelled and screamed at on the subway. I mean, it just didn't even...
Nothing.
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 Okay, so
But
you
so-
get yelled at a lot.
Oh, yeah. I mean, but that is the way that they try to break you down.
Break you down.
The guy that break you down to build you back up, to mold you into what the military needs you to be as a human being, right?
Right.
Respect, being mature, being professional, being responsible, all that stuff. So whatever you did before you got there, they're going to break that out of you.
Okay.
And if they don't break it out of you and you fight back on it, a lot of times that doesn't end up well for you because you just end up getting yourself in trouble anyway.
Okay, pause. I'm going to test this camera to make sure we're still recording because, we're still going. Okay, great.
Good? All right.
Everyone's happy. It's good. Okay, so where's my chapstick? Okay.
So,
Right, okay, so...
with your question with boot camp, like
Yes.
the difficulty of it?
Boot camp. We're at
Right.
boot camp.
So when you get to boot camp, the first thing they do is they put you on the bus and they try to break you on the bus right then and there, right? So the number one...
From Tampa?
Oh, yeah. Wait, where was I? No, I was on a flight, and when I got to flight to Great Lakes...
Okay.
When you get off and they get you on the bus, they take you on a bus to boot camp in Great Lakes, right? So on
This
the
is like America's Next Top Model. Like, they try and get you right away. No... America's Next Top Model.
Never seen it.
It's like boot camp for models. Tyra Banks.
Okay.
First day, photo shoot in the wind and the cold.
Right, they want to see what you're made
Oh
of.
my gosh. So you don't have a break. You get on the
Oh,
bus.
no. As soon as you're on the bus, you're in boot camp.
You're yelled at.
You're yelled at, right? And so the number one thing that they try to do is they try to get you right then and there. And what I mean by that is when you're on the bus, there's this guy walking up and down, screaming out, trying to get the last four of your social, right?
Okay.
Or they... It's been a little while, so bear with me. But what they try to do is if you say O instead of 0 in your social, that's it. When you're off the bus, you're doing like 200 push-ups, right? So I said O. And so they say if you have an O in your social security, raise your hand.
Oh, no.
So we don't know. We're just raising our hand. They're like,
Right.
what? And they start yelling at you, and they're like, you mean 0, right? 0. You have 76004 or whatever, and it's like, oh crap, here we go. Like, I'm already in this.
You're already in trouble.
So as soon as you get off the bus, you're already just throwing your stuff to the side and you're doing push-ups. Like, that's your introduction to boot
It's like me waiting for my Taco Bell order. If you got to pay attention.
You gotta
when
pay
they call it
attention.
out. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're already being yelled
So
at.
they're already trying to implant their ways
being
in
like
your head.
efficient. and
Exactly.
not- okay.
So no more O's. It's always 0. And have you ever seen people that write on paper and they put slashes through
yes.
their O's or zeros?
Yes.
That's how you distinguish a 0 is by slashing through it.
Mm.
And so there's the ways that they want to teach you the military way right from the get-go.
And that's a basic one, is the
Right.
zeros and O's.
Yeah.
Wow. So let's see. So what they bring you then to the camp? Is it an actual camp?
It's almost seems like a university in a way.
Okay.
Because it's its own little city,
Mm-hmm.
but obviously just not as fun, right? But picture a university, and that's kind of what it looked like,
Okay.
because you have streets and you have different barracks on each streets, which you could say dorms in
Barracks
a
are
way.
dorms.
And then you have your rec center at a university, but it's actually like the training facility for it kind of reminds you of a university.
So, is it? I mean, is it like in the movies where you're like waking up in the middle of the night, you're
Yes.
putting your boots on, you're going, running,
Yes.
being yelled
Same,
at,
same thing.
you eat out of the thing?
No,
or
that's a little bit more buds ish,
Okay.
like eating out of like trash cans and like
Oh.
putting you through that type of rigorous,
Mm-hmm.
activity. That's more of special forces type of training.
Yeah.
With this, I mean, you do eat just fine because they need you to be 100% because it's a lot of learning too. Like we have coursework, we have to learn coursework as far as what we're going to be doing with our job,
Oh.
and they teach you how to do the normal things on a ship because they teach everybody the basics of being on a boat
Okay.
or a ship, and you have to understand what aft and stern and all that stuff is.
What is
And
that?
so it's the different locations on a ship, right?
Uh-huh.
So aft is the back, forward, or the bow is the front,
Uh-huh.
and I can't remember the other ones. It's been a minute, man.
It's been a minute. That's why you're a
Stern
veteran.
and all
You're
that
over
good
it.
jazz. But anyway, they got to teach you the core basics of living on a ship. Like I want to say the water fountain is a scuttlebutt. So there's certain terminology too that you have to
God.
learn.
They can't just call it a water fountain.
They can't call it what? It's a scuttlebutt.
Scuttlebutt.
And so the galley is also your cafeteria. Right? So
Oh.
there's terminology,
Okay.
like nautical terminology that they need you to understand too.
So let's say we're like finishing boot camp. Who decides where you go?
Now that was the interesting part of it because when I was in boot camp, I was still going through like the Navy SEAL training. Like they would take us to different parts because
You were like a gifted student. You were like,
sure, we can put it like that. But you would do like pool training and different things, and
Okay.
so they would separate you from the rest of the pack on certain days because you were going through a different type of training.
what's like the hardest physical training you had to do for a SEAL? That's like something that the average person probably can't do.
Honestly, the physical part of it it's the mental, man.
Like what?
Um,
Like, did you have to like hang upside down?
no,
In
nothing,
water or
nothing like that.
something?
I would say working as a team is the hardest part.
No.
So there were logs and boats that you have to like hold above your head.
Yeah.
And you have to hold it there as a team. So if one of your team member drops it,
Mm-hmm.
the whole team has to start all over again. So you have to like almost motivate each other to kind of stay on track. And that mental aspect to it, especially if you had a difficult time like having chemistry with some person,
Mhm.
you had to get over that right away.
Don't work well in groups.
Well, you have to because they want you to learn that you leave no man behind.
Right.
It's a team thing, and it's not an individual thing. So no matter how well you do, if your whole team or you fail your team, you fail, even if you were individually performing well.
We just watched Top Gun Maverick last night, and I got a full rundown of everything. Great movie.
Awesome movie.
Really sad I hadn't seen it till now, but now I know.
Yeah.
But it's just like you were saying, all the teamwork.
You have to have mental toughness is 100%. And now I know from being in the military, mental toughness is how you succeed in life too.
Uh-huh.
If you don't have mental toughness, you're gonna break just on normal everyday things.
You're gonna crack.
Crack. Exactly.
Crack. So you do the Navy SEALs training. You
Right.
have these hard tasks. What is next? What's your end location? Where do they tell you to go? Do you decide?
So being that I didn't make it because I had an ankle injury and it was just not working out for me when I was there. They give you what they call a wish list, and that wish list is basically telling you, where would you like to go,
Okay.
and you could write down like 5 items or something like that when you're with I can't remember if it was my chief or somebody who's operating with me as far as my next steps.
Okay.
Right. And so I wrote down that I wanted to be, I think it was Europe, and I wanted to be on a nuclear carrier. And anyway,
a nuclear carrier?
yes, because I wanted to be on a newer carrier, right?
Oh, and nuclear is also newer.
Yes.
Okay.
Because the old ones were diesel.
Oh, okay.
So the diesel carriers, your USS Enterprise, your USS Kitty Hawk, which I got on, and we'll talk about that.
Okay.
But they give you a wish list of items that you would like.
Okay.
I got the complete opposite of everything I wrote.
Okay, so Navy,
Right.
the airmen,
Right.
right? You're going to live on an aircraft carrier.
Right.
Is that the only option?
No, it's not the only option.
Okay.
There's so many different
Well, I mean,
options.
I know that within that there's the option of, like you said, nuclear or diesel.
That was between the carriers that I
Right.
knew about, because
Okay.
I was in the air department.
Okay.
So there were options for me as far as if I was going to be on a boat. That was the number one thing I wanted to make sure is I got on an aircraft carrier.
So there's multiple options of what to do after
Yes.
boot camp. You chose aircraft carrier. You didn't get what you want.
No.
So what?
Some people go land duty
Oh, okay.
at the same time, but I want to experience traveling.
Okay.
Because if I chose land duty, I could get in San Diego and I could be in, shore duty
Right.
for 4 years, but
Okay.
I wouldn't have experienced anything.
Right.
And I didn't want to go down that road.
So did you get the nuclear or the diesel?
I got the diesel.
You got the diesel.
So they put me on the USS Kitty Hawk,
Okay.
CV-63.
What is that?
CV-63 is 63 is the number of the year which the ship was built.
Oh.
Yeah, 1963.
Is that bad? Is that?
It was definitely bad when
because it's old.
it's very old.
So what's like the oldest?
I don't know
Carrier.
anymore because right now
Yeah.
the Kitty Hawk got decommissioned and it's now just scraps.
Wow.
And I read an article that it was like sold for a penny or something like
What?
that. Yeah.
That's another question I had. I was thinking about this last night.
Yeah.
These aircraft carriers, they're kind of like
Yeah, you had a lot of questions about
I
that.
know. So it's kind of like
I don't understand why it's such a hard concept.
It's
freaking
like a little
airport.
It's like a little airport in the middle of the ocean,
Yes.
right? My question is, I have so many questions.
Go for it. That's why we're doing this.
How much does that cost to make, that little city in the middle of the
Yeah.
ocean, and then how do they make it? Like how? It's not like you can build it in a warehouse.
Dude, I don't know. All I did was enlist. I don't know.
Okay, you don't.
I don't know how they do it, but I do know that it is
Like, is it like millions?
millions of dollars.
Okay.
Millions of dollars.
Okay.
So here,
Our tax dollars?
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Okay. I don't know.
But it's millions of dollars. It takes years to make.
Okay.
And there's when you're
Just like Top Gun.
just like Top Gun.
Okay.
Top Gun took 10 years. So, but there are so many. Like a hamster cage, and you can keep adding like little more tubes to it and stuff like that.
I am familiar.
When you're on the aircraft carrier, like you have the middle portion of it, where we have like a lot of our engine rooms and stuff like
Okay.
that are solidified in the structural center of it.
Right.
But then you have like your paths that go along the entire length of the ship. But then there's like all these little crevices and holes and little places, and when you get in the engine rooms, there's like little doors you open that lead into something else, and it's like, who in the
So that's why it's weird. Is they just kept adding on.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It's like, do you remember that show that we were watching last night, that Booze Traveler? Right
Yeah.
after? Remember that little
Yes.
compartment he
Yes.
opened? That he had to squeeze
Yes.
in there because he had to clean.
Right.
Like there's compartments like
Random
that on
little
this huge ship,
portholes.
and it's like, who thought of
You
this?
guys are like hamsters.
It's crazy. It's a huge hamster cage in the ocean.
Okay, this all makes sense. No, it makes sense to me. So, okay. So you get the diesel, one of the oldest aircraft carriers, the
Correct.
CV-63.
CV-63.
The USS Kitty Hawk.
And you can identify that because on the bow of every carrier, it is painted.
That's the front.
CV, whatever the year that it was created. Correct.
How do you know what's the front? If you're in the middle of the ocean.
Huh?
The airplanes know?
Yes.
Okay, whatever. Okay, so so you get on this carrier.
Yes.
It's near Japan.
Yes.
Then what?
Okay, then
You
so
go to
I
defend
asked,
America on this carrier.
Well, let me go back to real quick to
Okay.
the list, because I asked to
Okay.
be in. I wanted Europe because I
Right.
wanted to. I thought cool. Like I'll go see Italy
And you know what? We're the trifecta. We're Italian, German, and French.
Oh,
So
see?
it makes sense.
It would have made sense.
But you got screwed.
But I got the Asian Pacific, and I got stationed in Yokosuka, Japan, on a diesel carrier.
Which you did love.
I did.
You just
love it.
didn't know.
I just didn't know at the time.
Okay.
Right. Exactly. Because I thought, well, if this is the way it's going to be, and why even ask me if you're not going to give me anything? Like, just tell me where to go. Don't give me false hope.
Right.
Anyway, that's a whole different story.
Did you just say couscous?
I did not say
Oh,
couscous.
I thought I heard USS Couscous Kitty Cock. I don't know.
Do you want me to say that?
No, couscous is a type of rice.
Oh.
It doesn't matter. Okay.
Oh,
So,
we can go. There's so many different cuisines that I love in Japan. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. You get on the carrier you didn't think you wanted.
Correct.
Then what?
Okay, so When they give me my orders, I flew to Japan. No, that's not true.
Oh.
I ended up going to air school for a few months in Pensacola first.
For what?
So they have to basically teach you how to understand the dynamics of the aircraft, understand like the hydraulic engines that I'm going to be working on.
Oh.
Because with my job that I had, I was at ABE, or Aviation Bosun's Mate Equipment. The green jerseys on the flight deck.
AV.
ABE. B as in boy.
ABE, like Abe.
AB. Like,
Our
like
mom
Abe.
is pulling in her driveway.
Do you want to stop?
No.
Okay.
We can. So, wait. Say that again. You were in.
So I was in ABE.
What is that again?
Aviation
Uh-huh.
Bosun's Mate Equipment. So Bosun's Mate is basically the label that everybody on a ship basically gets. You're
Okay.
a bosun's mate. But I was aviation, and I was in charge of equipment. And the
Oh.
equipment I was in charge of was the launch and recovery of aircraft. So those cables that catch the aircraft as they come in, they're
Mhm.
called purchase cables. There's 4 of them. I was in charge of maintaining those, and they put me in the catapults. Now the catapults that were on the USS Kitty Hawk
Mhm.
at that point were steam.
Hi,
powered.
Mom.
Hey, Mom.
Oh, I thought you were interviewing.
We are interviewing.
We are, but it's okay.
Oh, it's an edit.
No, it's gonna be in.
It's gonna be in.
What's going to be in?
What you're talking about right now.
You're gonna be in.
No, you're not filming.
Yeah, I am.
Oh, we're filming. Are we
Yeah,
filming?
It's filming.
Yeah, we're filming. Hi, Mom.
Can I
Okay.
sit here?
You can do whatever you
Yeah,
want.
you can do whatever you want.
Okay, so
Okay. So, the catapults, that's how they launch the aircrafts. So, I was
Should
in
we-
charge of both.
let's break because I know this is going to be confusing to the people.
Okay.
Let's backtrack a bit.
backtrack.
So your job, the ABE,
Mhm.
was to be in charge of all of these, let's say, equipment for the the planes?
Yes.
Planes?
At that point in time, we had the F-14 Tomcats.
Is that a plane or a jet?
Do you remember what Tom Cruise stole and flew out at the end of the movie in
I
Maverick?
do.
That was what we had at that time. Those
Okay.
were the F-14
An old
Tomcats.
Conquer.
Those are my favorite aircrafts. They didn't have.
What is? But what's the should I be saying plane or jet?
It's
Aircraft?
called an aircraft.
Aircraft.
Yes.
Are they planes?
They're jets.
They're jets.
They're
What's the difference between a plane and a jet?
Jets are awesome and planes are nah.
Okay, that's the technical answer. Okay. I'm gonna actually explain this, and then you can correct
good.
me, because this is what I know. So you've got the aircraft carrier in the middle of the ocean,
Correct.
and you've got the aircrafts, okay, the little jets that need to come in, refuel
Right.
on your little aircraft, and then take back off really quick. And
No.
no,
No.
This is what it's okay. This is what
So
you're here.
think about an airport.
Airport.
Because that's exactly what an aircraft carrier is. It's a mobile airport on the ocean
With 5,000 people.
with 5,000 people
living on it.
Right.
Okay.
So the aircrafts are stationed on this aircraft carrier.
Okay.
We have what we call a hangar bay. So
Hangar bay.
The hangar bay. So the entire middle.
Sounds like a type of seasoning.
Ooh.
Okay.
I
Anyway.
kind of like that. All right. So anyway, the entire middle portion of the aircraft carrier is a hangar bay for all the aircrafts. You have 4 elevators, which you saw in the movie,
Uh-huh.
2 on each side of the aircraft
Okay.
that raise and lower throughout the day, bringing those aircrafts to the flight deck to prepare for launch.
Okay.
Okay. So I want to say we had 70 or so F-14s. We had,
What is that?
that's the Tomcat. That's what Tom Cruise stole in the end of the movie.
Right, but
Yeah.
what does that even mean, an F-14? Why is it
It's
a
the
letter?
version of the aircraft. I don't know the ins and outs
Okay.
of that. That I'm not sure.
Like, you know how they say, like, you're driving like a Ford F-150? What's with the F? What does that
I
mean?
don't know.
Nothing? It doesn't mean anything?
I have no clue.
It's just a number?
I never
Okay,
really
forget
cared
it.
to find out.
Okay, got
So
it.
that's I just know that.
What
F-
it-
So
okay.
you have your F-14 Tomcat, which
Great,
we had,
Got it.
right? And then we had Prowlers. Prowlers were 2-seater aircrafts. They have like this horn that comes out the front. And
Cedar aircraft?
It's like,
Oh, a two-seater.
yeah,
Two
like
people can sit
it's
in
a
it.
huge canopy. So 2 people can actually sit, and 2 people in the back. So it's a bigger canopy.
Oh, 4 people total.
Correct.
Okay, as opposed to
and
2.
it's so powerful. Now, I want to say this is kind of like a radar type of aircraft. I didn't get the opportunity to learn about it.
Uh-huh.
I just knew that it was the most powerful aircraft that we had, because I was in. There was 2 launches that we did when we went to Iraq, and I was in charge of doing some of the hooking of the catapult. And when the aircrafts have to fully power before we send them off with the catapult.
Okay.
So we build up the steam in the steam engine, and they are in full power on the aircraft. So when we hit the button, we release all that built up steam, which shoots what it's attached to, that catapult, shoots it, and that's how it's able to pick up enough speed to get off the aircraft. Right?
Okay.
So
okay.
Real quick. So
Yeah.
as it was fully powered, it was so powerful that it shakes the entire flight deck, and it literally rattled the filling right out of my tooth.
A filling came out of
Filling
your tooth?
came right out
Because
Yep.
of the rattling from
sheer power that I was feeling. Because
Oh my God.
I'm
Were
3
you
feet
guys-
away from a fully powered engine, so
How many feet away?
I'm probably like 3 feet.
Oh my God.
I'm right underneath it.
Was the aircraft listing? See what I did there?
I see what you did there.
That's
no,
when it goes
but
back and forth,
that's
it
a
moves.
whole different story. That's fun.
Okay.
We can get to that if you want.
So, so many questions. So what
Yeah.
is it? What do you mean by power? This air, like horsepower? By how fast it goes?
They have to put the throttle. Now the throttle is what they use to generate the force, right? So
like when I put it in park?
kind of, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. Like if you push all the way down on the gas pedal of a car,
Yeah.
you are putting this in full throttle
Okay.
for an aircraft.
Okay.
Right? So they put it in full throttle.
Uh-huh.
They just don't take off yet. They basically have the brake on per se. Okay?
Okay. And, yes.
And we have it connected to a catapult that is on a railing system that goes from that aircraft all the way to the end of the front of the aircraft carrier.
Right.
So as soon as we release the steam in that engine that's underneath, all that built up pressure from the steam is what helps launch it off.
Because normally, if you guys were a normal runway, they would have so much longer to take off.
Correct.
Is that what you're saying?
And it's because of a shorter
carrier,
runway. Right.
It's a mini airport.
Correct.
How big is the aircraft carrier, the runway, in compared to like a football field? Or fields, maybe. Like how big are
We
these
actually played
things?
football on the aircraft carrier, so maybe 2.5 football fields.
That's how big the aircraft carrier
Like
is.
the actual top of it. I want
Yeah.
to probably because we had 2 games going on, and we had basically a full football field.
Are you guys as big as a cruise ship? Maybe? I don't know.
Bigger?
Bigger?
I think bigger.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Because, you're looking, it's a little speck in the ocean. You don't
Yeah.
know. Okay, so, and then, but also I want to clear up, but I was right where the aircrafts do come in to refuel, right?
Yes,
Is that
and,
correct?
Yes and no. So
Oh.
if they are running out of fuel, obviously they have to land, but they go through the whole maintenance. Once they land, like we are doing
Like NASCAR, you guys redo
kind
the
of,
things?
Yeah, it's
and-
full maintenance. We'll get them on the elevator, bring them back down to the hangar bay, and then we have a group of mechanics that will be working on that.
But there's a big rope. what do you call it? Cable that catches the
Correct. That's called the purchase cable.
The purchase.
So we
cable
have 4 of those.
that catches
The
it
aircrafts.
to stop.
Correct. So
Okay.
each aircraft has a hook in the back
Uh-huh.
that they will raise and lower,
Okay.
and then they lower it when they're actually coming in for landing. And that once it lowers, there's 4 different cables that they have the opportunity to catch in order to stop the aircraft from
Uh-huh.
in its tracks per se.
And you did this job around what, like 2004-ish?
So when I got to Japan, I was there for 3 days, and we got orders to go right out to Iraqi freedom. So I want to say it was like beginning of 2002 or something like that.
Beginning of 2002 is when you live on the aircraft carrier
Yeah, it was.
and do this job.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't there long. We were right out to Iraqi freedom.
Okay, and what was I gonna? I have so many questions, Jason, that this is rattling my brain. Okay, so, my gosh, what was I gonna ask?
I don't
It was
remember.
Something
Do you want me to fill in here?
No, it was something about the ship or the. Oh yes, okay, yes. This is my question.
Okay.
At the time, 2002, you're on the aircraft carrier. You're the purchase cable guy, right? Wasn't it one of the most dangerous jobs in the world at the time? 'Cause
I
didn't
think
people
I
get
think it was
injured?
that and like crab trapping or something like that.
Because people would get injured that were on top.
Oh, there's so many opportunities to get injured.
Because of the aircrafts coming in, like...
The aircraft's coming in, just the danger of... So the ship listing, that's a whole different thing in itself. So when we're in bad weather or there's high waves, the ship itself will list where you are literally, like, the ship is like this. You have to... There's these crates, I call them, throughout the entire flight deck with like metal beams like in holes where you can strap and connect yourself. Like that's how we kind of chain down the aircrafts, so we can chain ourselves down if it's bad weather.
To not fall off?
To not fall off, right. And there's netting that goes along the entire outskirts in case you do roll, the net will catch you.
In the middle of the ocean?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And I thought a little bit of a sway on the cruise ship on the Lido deck with my burger and the plate was bad.
No, so we would get in total trouble if they ever found this out, but it's been a while, so we're fine.
This podcast reaches a lot of people.
Yeah, that's fine. So one of the we used to love it when the ship would list because the engine room was basically the entire width almost of the aircraft carrier, and it's one long hydraulic engine, and that's a whole topic that's too long to discuss. But anyway, the entire thing is like a tiled engine room. Okay. So what we would do is when we knew the ship was listing, because we've got to see it, we get bored after a while. We're working constantly. So we would put pillows at the one end. There's a door here and a door all the way at the other end of the engine room. We'd put pillows at one end, and we put hydraulic fluid on the tile. And as soon as the ship would start listing, we would use it like a slip and slide.
Oh,
and we would slide all the way down and have the pillows stop us from going into the hallway.
This is where your tax dollars are going.
Yeah. We had a blast. It was fun.
Wow, But
that's how much it would list. Like it would...
Like every day?
Let's say this is the ship and it's normal, right? It would literally do this.
Oh my god.
Like crazy. It was so awesome.
That's like being on the subway times 10. It was nuts.
Cool. Yeah.
Okay.
You don't get seasick.
You don't?
No,
you get used to it?
You get so used to it, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think
Jason.
it'd be bobbing everywhere and you'll be fine.
Jason. Okay, we're going to transition a little bit. Right. I want to know, so you're in the Navy. Tell me about your job title and like the titles of being on this ship, if you can break it down easy. Like, because you were a Navy petty officer.
Right.
Who's the boss? Who does everyone report to?
So,
how does this work?
So every I was a third class petty officer.
Okay.
Right. So every level of a petty officer becomes your boss.
Where do you start at?
So you start, oh man, what was it? You're basically an enlisted, I can't remember, man. I just remember having 3 little bars. And...
Oh, that's what that means?
Yeah. I don't remember what it was. It was just enlisted.
Did you graduate to the third class?
I did.
Okay, so there's more before you.
Yeah, there's like 3 other levels before you get to petty officer.
Okay.
And so once I got to petty officer, I was now in charge of those enlisted below me, based on what my job title was.
Did you make them shine your shoes?
No, you don't do anything like that.
Got it.
That's. But you do make them go through some rigorous activity to get them, on board with what they're about to face. So they do become kind of the grunts of the job, having to pull the grease up all the levels of stairs or stuff like that. Because once you get up to another level, like you become a second class petty officer, a first class, like you deserve to not have to do that stupid stuff anymore. But obviously, at the beginning, you do those stupid things, right? It's like any job. You don't start all the way at the top. Yeah. So as a third class petty officer, I was in charge of those that were underneath me where I was at that time. And so a lot of times I became an engine operator. So I was in charge of the hydraulic engine that we had. And we had 4 engines for every cable that would catch the aircraft. Cable 3 was the one that got caught the most. That was the one that seemed to be the direct target for most aircrafts.
Okay.
So I was in charge of engine number 3. So that one needed a lot more maintenance than the other ones because it was used so often. And that involved a ton of different work. I mean, there were pulley systems throughout the entire ship that cable had to go through. And the cable itself on the flight deck, right? It's one long purchase cable that connects to other cables at each end
Mhm.
that are on a pulley system that run all the way through the ship into that engine.
Mm.
But this was the crazy part. When we had to do a re-reeve, we call it. A re-reeve is when that cable is no longer good. Because basically what it is, it's metal coils that go all the way around like a hemp type of inner filling,
Sure.
right? So when those metal pieces started to break off,
Right.
it was no longer good because then it could uncoil and we could have huge problems.
Right.
So we did what we call a re-reeve. So we'd have to get the entire cable that was running into the engine.
Mhm.
We'd have to pull all that out
Mhm.
and put a brand new cable in.
Okay.
And there's nowhere to put that old cable. So we had to jettison it, is what we call it. And jettison is when you throw something just over the side. Each one of those cables was like $70,000. The cable
What?
that goes across, I think they said it was like 20 grand. And we're just throwing it over to the side.
How often are you doing this?
It depends how often that we were doing flight operations. But I'd say, if we were at the sea once a month.
Once a month?
It costs almost $500,000 just to turn the aircraft carrier. That's how much gas it
Really?
takes. Yeah. Wow. It's crazy.
Okay. I am.
That's why
Shooketh.
if we have to do something outside of our original coordinates, it's a big deal.
Okay.
Because it costs a lot of money to maneuver in such a way because the winds have a lot to do with it too.
And
There's
what-
crosswinds
what-
when we're launching and everything.
What ocean or sea were you in?
I was in the Pacific.
Pacific?
And then when we were on our way to Iraq, we would go through the Malaysian Straits into the Indian Ocean and then into the Iraqi Sea.
So there's just $20,000 worth of purchase cables in the bottom of these oceans?
What are you supposed to do?
What are you supposed to do? Wow. Oh
We
my-
had one
Are
time
they
where the cable
biodegradable?
snapped.
No. What?
We had one time where the cable snapped. And that cable is pressured so much that once it snapped, because it didn't have the right pressure in the engine room, and that was not on me.
Uh-huh.
That was a different engine and a whole different scenario. But you have to have a certain PSI or pressure that's built up, and it wasn't at the right pressure. So when the piston, there's a huge piston that the hydraulic
I got
fluid,
it. Yeah.
it's helped stop the aircraft being not at the right PSI. That aircraft went over the side. That cable snapped, went through a bunch of the helos. I mean, that's how strong it is.
Uh-huh.
Ripped right through the helos that were parked, went through somebody else. Like it's a huge deal. But that aircraft we lost. I mean, and that pilot was able to eject right before it hit the water. I mean, things happen, you know.
Oh my goodness.
So
Okay. Okay, so you're the third class petty officer.
Right.
You've got the 3 stripes.
Right.
There's people above you. What is like a normal day like on an aircraft carrier? know?
It really just varies, but I know for us, like when I was in ABE and I was doing the arresting gear. Arresting gear is like the recovery of aircraft. It's the managing of those cables, right?
Okay.
So we are in charge of. There's a whole thing behind it. I mean, there's a whole group of people. You got a guy in the aft that's calling out as the aircrafts are coming in. Like there's a whole team of people that's involved in this. But the arresting gear is what it's actually labeled, like that team that helps catch those cables. So first thing in the morning, we're up really early, and we're also going to bed really late.
4 a.m. You're going to
Probably.
getting up. Going
I mean, flight ops would end around 1, 2 a.m.
Okay.
And then we'd have to do maintenance to make sure that we'd be prepared for the next flight ops for early that next morning. A lot of us would just go right to the gym before we even go to bed and do a workout.
Okay.
We'd be in bed around 3:30, and then get ready for fly ups at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning.
Oh my gosh! Do you get a nap?
So that's the thing, and that's what we kind of knew, and we worked around that is because when you are in the military, you are working 24/7.
Yeah.
If you're in the Navy, you're working 24/7, and even if you get off work, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
There's nowhere to go. You can go down to the library, you can go to the gym, you can go watch TV in your barracks.
Right.
But you're never really off work.
Right.
Because if something is
You're
needed,
in the middle of the ocean.
yeah, if something's needed, they're gonna come grab you and tell you to go right back to work
Okay.
again, right? So knowing that we do have rotations of downtime in the middle of the day, but we would get ready for flight ops early that morning, grab some food in the galley, run up, eat it real quick. And then we just look at all the cables, we look at the pressure of the engines, we just make sure that everything is maintained. And so when we start flight ops, as they're being launched, they basically go out, do whatever the assignment is for that aircraft for the day, come back, we catch them with a purchase cable, start doing the maintenance and everything that we have to do on those. There's tractors that we use in order to bring out new cables or new equipment if we need to. And I mean, it's a full day of just ongoing. And then like my team, we would just rotate. We'd go down, take a 20-minute nap, come back up, and we just kind of rotate that way.
I think I could do it.
I'll tell you what, it was boring at times because it's the same thing every single day. But it was rewarding because you knew that there's only so many people in the world that are able to do something like this.
Right.
You know, and being on the ocean, I love the ocean. That was just the most amazing part.
It's you and a Disney cruise line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all the different countries I got to go to.
Yeah. What's wrong? Are you okay?
I thought the paper was in front of the lens.
Oh, okay. So we're working 24/7, no weekends, middle of the ocean.
Yeah. If you're at the sea, I mean, you just have to know that you are going to be working.
Jay, you're in the Navy 4 years?
4 years.
You have an apartment in Japan.
I did have an apartment in Japan.
How did that work?
It worked good. So
what do you do?
The only reason I got the apartment is because I knew that once we got back from Iraqi freedom, the ship goes in what they call dry dock. And it goes into dry dock for a couple months. So basically they pull it into this canal, they drain all the water, and they start working on the bottom of the boat to make sure that they get barnacles and clean it and
That's
make sure
my
everything
question.
is good.
Where is this getting drained? What thing is big enough to hold a 2.5 football field
It's
boat?
on the Yokosuka Naval Base.
Yokosuka?
Yokosuka. Yes.
What is that?
That Yokosuka is a city in Japan, but that is also the city in which the military base is located. That I was on.
So Japan, they like us, and we just get to have a
And
naval
they're-
base there.
In that spot they do. Once you get into like, once you get into the countryside, they're still
They don't like you.
not very much so.
Okay. Wow. Does Japan have a naval base for us? Do we get to host them?
I have no
We're
idea.
not that nice.
I don't know.
Okay, I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I don't know how any of this works, so whatever you tell me, it's the truth. Okay, so
But yeah, the apartment was awesome.
so you get the apartment because you know that when you get back from Iraqi freedom.
Yeah. We didn't. I mean, you're done being on the boat. You can only
Yeah.
take so much of it.
What
and,
is-
And so you can't live when the boat's on dry dock. You can't live on it.
Okay.
So they provide us with like mobile barracks that are like smaller ships that are just almost like the barracks that we have on
And
the
you didn't
carrier.
want that?
I didn't want that.
No. Okay.
And so me, Tim, and John, we ended up there. Are two other buddies I had.
Tim and John.
Tim and John. So we ended up just getting a place out in Japan. That wasn't too far from the base.
What is Iraqi freedom? You've said that word.
That is what they labeled the mission. Per
The
se.
mission?
Right.
for you or
Just in general.
For all the
when
branches of the
For all the
military?
branches of the
Okay.
military, like Desert Storm was labeled that when we went to Afghanistan. Like,
Mhm.
so they label each mission something. And so when we went to Iraq, when America went to Iraq,
Yeah.
it was labeled Iraqi.
So
freedom.
why can't the aircrafts have fun names like that? Why are they numbers and letters?
Well, some of them do have their own call
Oh,
signs. Like,
okay.
like the pilot,
Yeah.
Maverick,
Yeah.
had his own call sign, right?
Okay.
Maverick was his call
What
sign.
would mine
So
be?
we would kind of
Yeah.
Princess
Princess Peach.
Peach.
Can you do stuff like that? Can my code name be
I call
like
you
an
Radio
Nintendo-
Flyer?
Radio Flyer?
Yeah.
Why?
That just sprung to mind. Then I didn't realize how much red we have in our beard.
Radio Flyer.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm thinking like the Radio Flyer, the wagon, like red, like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Jason and I, we're Italian, but we don't know what's going. We have red in our beard.
You want to talk about that, Ma?
Mom? Why do we have red facial hair? What? Italians
if
have
I-
red hair though.
Ask
Yeah,
your
but-
father.
Yeah, but if I grew, here's the thing. I feel like if I grew my hair out, it would be black.
The
it
top
was-
of your head?
Yeah, because if it was black the last time I shaved it and cut it.
What? At 20 years old?
21? Yeah.
21.
Jay, you got more red than Jay got.
I know I do. I think because he's never had it grown out like this, or that I remember, that I see the red a little bit more. Anyway,
We don't know.
we're
We don't
getting
know.
off topic.
Okay, so you've got the apartment in Japan.
Yes.
What do you do in Iraqi freedom? What do you do? as
So that was
the Navy
So
water
we were
person.
so we were in charge of a lot of the flight ops.
Flight
So-
ops.
Right. So the flight operations of sending full ordnances like the missiles that we
Uh-huh.
put on the aircrafts. Full ordnance meaning that there wasn't one part of that aircraft that did not have a missile where a missile should be
Okay.
located, right?
Okay.
So under each wing, I think was 2 or 3 missiles.
Okay.
Full guns, everything. So we would send them full ordnance out every single day.
How much is a missile?
I have no idea.
Like $20,000?
No clue.
Like the.
I mean, sure. You want
And
me
are
to
you
guess?
so
I'll
you're are you
guess.
blowing up trees? What are you doing? How long?
All
does
I
this
know
last?
is that we would shoot them out and they would come back empty. And we
They
would,
come back.
Yeah. We would launch the aircrafts into Iraq.
Oh, the aircrafts come back.
Correct.
I thought you meant
And then
the
when they
shell of
come
the missile.
No, and when they come back, they are completely empty.
And that's all you knew.
And we were sending 65, 70 of them out every single day
Wow.
for the 4 months that we were there.
And you were there for 4 months.
I think just about 4 months. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
And so it had nothing to do with water or boats. You were.
Oh no.
It was completely airman.
Yeah.
For that time.
Everything that I was doing had to do with the aircrafts.
Okay, we're gonna
So-
wrap up. Well, yes, tell
Yeah,
me.
just really interesting.
Yes.
Because this is what I learned the most is that you know how they say like the news lies. The news
Yes. Tell me
news-
the deets.
The news definitely lies. So I'll never forget this. We're sitting in the barracks, and we have one TV that's up in the corner in like this lounge area that we have, right?
Uh-huh.
And so there's like the majority of us that worked the flight deck that day. There was about 10 of us are sitting there, and we're exhausted, right?
Mhm.
So we just turned on the news because we want to know what was going on. I was only on the ship for probably a couple days because
Okay.
we were on our way to Iraq because the USS Kittihawk was forward deployed. If anything happens, it's the first aircraft carrier to go out.
It is?
Yeah, it was
Okay.
the first aircraft carrier to go out. So we're sitting there, and George Bush is talking, right? And he's giving 24-hour notice to Iraq
Mm-hmm.
to stand down or whatever, or we're going to attack, right?
Okay.
We're exhausted because that very day, we're already in the Iraqi Sea.
Mm-hmm.
We launched full ordnance aircrafts
Mhm.
all day long into Iraq, and they came back empty.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're thinking, what are you talking about? Like, what is this 24-hour notice? We've been bombing Iraq for the last 24 to 48 hours.
Yeah.
So that's when I realized that the
Mm.
news is not accurate.
Okay.
And what actually takes place,
Mm-hmm.
things are already taking place.
Mm.
Like that was the first eye opener I got, because there's no way that we weren't you don't send full ordnance operations out. If we were doing test or practice runs, there's a couple of missiles, and those are
Right.
strategic
Okay.
missiles for whatever that mission is to practice.
And you said it was what, 60 to 70 aircrafts a
oh
day?
easy.
And you were already
We're
doing
sending
this.
prowlers, we're sending the prop planes, everything.
But he was threatening
Yeah,
Iraq.
I'll never forget.
that it was going to happen.
Yeah, he's like,
but it
you
was
have
already
24
happening.
hours, and we looked at each other like, what have we been doing?
George Bush,
Yeah.
straight from the president's mouth.
Straight from President's mouth. So that was interesting because we were already
Yeah.
sitting there in the Iraqi Sea sending aircrafts all day, every day.
Wow.
For probably, I think it was like 48 hours prior to him giving that 24 hours notice. I'll never forget that.
Okay, what I was going to say
Yeah.
is we're going to wrap up soon, but I still have some questions. I want to move on now to veteran life.
Got it.
How did you exit the military? What's it like now? Do you have ear problems? You're ringing in the ears? Do you
Yeah,
get
yeah.
money from the government?
So when I first got out, it was really, really difficult because you are
Mhm.
used to a brotherhood,
Uh-huh.
right? And you're used to having people that you truly trust, and it was different when you get out because not just because of the lifestyle,
Mhm.
but just because everything kind of stalls.
Uh-huh.
And so you're not used to that stall. And I think this is where I am with my brain, where
Yes.
I can't turn it off. And that's because of, I want to say, the military. Like, I am just, you don't stall when you're there. You don't stop thinking about things. You're constantly strategically thinking about what you have to do.
You know what it's like? It's like Britney Spears 2007 when she had the Piece of Me album.
You're gonna have to
the
enlighten me on
blackout.
that one.
She shaved her head. She went crazy. She was like, I gotta go out to just keep my mind going. The point is, I get it.
Yeah.
Okay, so
You get it with
yeah.
athletes too. I mean, look at Tom Brady. He retired and had to come back. Like,
Right.
it's a very
You're
difficult
just
thing
used
to
to
do.
this constant.
Right. So I got
Yeah.
home and it was just like, now what?
Right.
Now what? And I got pretty depressed from it. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know. You never trust people again like you trusted that group of people. Like that brotherhood almost like set the bar for what it should be as far as friends and family and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You'll never find it again. It's too special of a connection.
Yeah. And then do you then, like, what do we do about that?
So
what I mean? Like,
there was
what's the
months
best?
and months and months. I don't even think I really wanted to talk to anybody or leave. Or
Should there be like an exit
You didn't want
program?
to get out of bed.
I didn't want to get out of bed. Like the
Yeah.
turtles.
I remember you had 4 turtles.
I had 4 turtles that I built the pond in the backyard. I almost like needed purpose again.
Yeah.
And I think the turtles gave me purpose, as stupid as it sounds. But as soon as I started working with them, I think I jumped on the bike and I started riding the trail, and that finally got me out.
Because they're water things, and
Maybe.
you wanted water.
Maybe. I don't know.
So Jay, so then after you get out, what do you get? Do you get money still?
No,
What do
you don't really
get
get money, but you do get the benefit of having the VA as far as medical.
The
and,
Veterans
yeah.
Assistance? Is that what they call it?
Kind of. I mean, what was really nice, I got the GI Bill.
GI Bill?
So
What is a GI Bill?
The GI Bill is what helped me pay for my college tuition.
What is it?
It's basically a bill to help veterans get through college. I mean,
Like everybody gets it when they
everybody.
leave
Yeah,
the
actually, I don't
military?
even think it's a veteran thing. You sign on when you first sign on in the military that you will be getting the GI Bill. So that's
It's like
not
a
even
401k
veteran
for the
thing.
military?
Sure.
Like you get it?
Yeah.
So after you after you leave the military, you get the GI Bill.
Right.
That's the only form of monetary
If you
assistance.
don't go to war and you're not labeled, and you're not labeled as a vet, you really don't get a lot of benefits.
Oh, so you
Because
so you
I
have
was
to
in
be-
wartime.
That's the
I'm
only way
a
to be
veteran.
labeled as a vet?
Right.
Stop it.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
I thought
I didn't know that either.
I thought anybody that just got out of the military is a veteran.
No, I mean, you're honorably discharged,
Honorably
but you have to be a
discharged.
veteran of war.
So, wow.
Yeah.
I'm just very dumb.
No, I mean, so that was a huge part of it.
Okay.
So
got
if
it.
I went in and
Mhm.
I didn't get wartime, you don't really get the same benefit getting out.
So you're not getting any monetary assistance right now from
So
the
I
government.
finally got my disability for my tinnitus, and
Tinnitus.
that it's hard to not get that when you're 3 feet away from an aircraft every single day the whole time
Yeah,
you're
but
there.
it was hard with the government to get it approved.
Yeah, it took
to get it approved.
13 years.
13
So
years.
really, you're in the military, you get your paychecks,
Right.
and then you apply for the GI Bill before you even start, but you have to get approved for it to get out.
Well,
Or
when you
to get it,
when you
sorry.
sign on, they basically it's almost like when you sign on for a new job and you get a hiring bonus or something like
Okay.
that. Let's call the GI Bill a hiring bonus.
And that's for college.
That's for college.
And then you're
And
getting
for housing, right? If you bought a home.
If you bought a home. Yeah.
our mom is helping us. No, it's fine. No, I just want to make sure they can
No,
hear
you're
you
good,
because
you're
the
good.
mic is over here. It's fine.
Yeah.
So I'm going to repeat what you said. So,
Yeah.
okay, great. So you get the GI Bill. You're getting assistance for the tinnitus.
Right.
Right? But that's it.
That's it.
Because in my mind, and I think a lot of people's minds, we think that you're getting like a disability check, or you know
No.
what I mean. Like some people think that after you,
No, you don't get
you kind of get like this, almost like child payment. What are they called? What am
I know what you're talking about.
whatever I'm trying to say. Alimony from the government. I don't know. So you're not getting any money. Just
No,
what we
you don't
mentioned.
get any money,
Okay,
but
got
you do get the. I mean, if you think about how much healthcare it is a big benefit that you can
Right.
go to the VA and get your medical taken care of.
Oh, so that's my question. So
Yeah.
the Veterans Affairs Office,
Right.
place.
So I can go there and not have to worry about getting a whole medical plan and stuff. Like they take care of that.
So that's like hospital specifically for veterans,
Correct.
and you don't have to pay anything.
No, you still have to
Oh.
you have co-pays and stuff like
Okay.
that, but it's nowhere near as what it would be if I had to take on like a policy of my own and stuff.
So
like
you
that.
don't have a current normal health insurance policy?
I don't. No.
No.
I just go to the VA.
Because you're a civilian.
I am.
Okay, got it. Okay, this makes sense.
Okay.
That I did
Does
not-
it make sense?
Well, no, you're right. You're saying it doesn't. but
Well, I'm asking you, does it actually make sense to you?
What do you mean?
Like
My brother's interviewing me now. I don't know.
like what I just said, does it click in the understanding of I have the medical
Right.
that they take care of that portion of it.
Right.
I don't need like a a medical policy or anything like that.
Okay.
He doesn't have to pay
Right.
for medical.
I don't have to pay for medical,
Okay.
but at the same time, that's really the only benefit unless you have to apply for some sort of disability
Okay.
that you get. Other than
Are you
GI
asking
Bill.
me, should it be better?
No, I'm asking
Oh.
you, does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
what I just said, does that
Yeah,
make sense?
I think
Okay.
I got it. I
Okay.
just assumed there was more. Like, I thought
Not
people
really.
were getting checks in the mail of, you know, like, I don't know.
I mean, you had to...
Almost like Social Security when you get to an age.
You
get
had to
like
fill out for disability just like you would as a civilian, and I had to do the same thing for my tinnitus for
Whew.
the military.
Okay, so we're gonna wrap up eventually. I keep saying that, but do you have a favorite memory of being in the Navy or on the aircraft carrier, or the 4 months you were doing Iraqi Freedom? I know you mentioned the
I
sliding
would
down.
say
thought
there's
that was-
two memories that I have.
Yeah.
First one is when I was in boot camp. The what was his name? They allowed you to go to church,
Okay.
right? And the pastor there, I love that dude.
Okay.
That guy was awesome, and I wanted mom and dad to see him because they came. You came too. Didn't
I
you?
did
Yeah,
come,
you did.
yes.
So for my graduation, and of course, the one time he is not there is when you guys went to church with me that day, and I was so upset
Oh,
about that.
no.
But I remember like being on your own and being in an environment where you didn't know what to expect, and you're still learning to get along with people, and all you're doing is getting yelled at constantly. That was the one thing I would look forward to. And what's crazy is that has continued on for me.
Mm.
You know, because you start to realize that everything in life, you need something that is going to make you feel better mentally,
Mhm.
and you can't do that on your own.
Right.
You need something, and so God was definitely the one thing.
Okay.
The other portion that I always thought of, and because it changed me, is it was called an ice cream party when we were in boot camp.
Okay.
An ice cream party is when somebody screws up on your team, and everybody has to pay for it. Like your entire squadron has to pay for it, right? So what they do is they bring you into your barracks, and they turn the heat off, and they get like a pint of ice cream, and they stick a plastic spoon at the top,
Uh-huh.
and they drill you until this ice cream melts completely and the spoon hits the bottom of that pint.
Okay.
And you are just doing push-ups,
But
pull-ups,
this is in
sit-ups.
Chicago in the winter, so the point of it is it's cold in this room already?
No, it was hot.
Oh, it's hot?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Like
okay.
they
trying
made
know.
it hot.
Okay, got
Yeah.
it, got it.
Some people called it an ice cream party. Other people,
right.
our chief called it "Let's make it rain," because you were
Okay.
working out so much too
You wanted to get the ice cream
that
out.
the condensation from the sweat started actually making it like rain off the ceiling.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah. So not only did we have to wait till that spoon and the ice cream melted and hit the bottom, which was a couple hours later, because it was a couple hours and it was so hot in there and we were all sweating, our condensation from the sweat started layering on the ceiling, and you just started feeling like it was raining. I'll never forget that. That humbled me. That day humbled me. I was like, if I can get through this, I'm gonna get through anything.
You can get through anything.
Yeah.
It's true.
Because that was, it took me a week to recover from that one.
Jason DiRienzo, Navy Petty Officer, what advice do you have for someone that wants to join the Navy and or the military in general?
Talk to somebody who's been in, and talk
Okay.
to somebody who's been in that you trust.
Oh,
what they
right.
say. Like I said, I was lucky that
Brian.
Kevin, his brother was already in, and
Mhm.
Brian gave me pointers. Because
Yeah.
if I didn't take Brian's advice, I probably would have. And I already like the whole experience.
You would have
was
been
very,
a seaman.
I would have been in a position which I would not have enjoyed as much
Right.
as it was already a difficult thing to be in.
Yeah.
It would have been even worse.
Okay.
So
Okay.
definitely talk to somebody that you trust.
That's good advice.
Who's already in and won't lead you to their own biased opinions. So just be careful of biased opinions too.
Okay. I ask this to everybody, what are your goals for this coming year, professionally, personally, any travel plans?
Professionally, to actually take things off my plate a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I want to remove some of the things so I can focus on things that are important, family, friends, getting involved in church a little bit more, and just kind of becoming a better human being.
Wow.
Yeah. That's
Because
the goal.
I'm in that because I'm the family
Yeah.
part of that statement.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's your goals.
Traveling, seeing family, like
Traveling.
it's all part of it. I started that last year and it felt great.
Jason, where can people find you on the internet if they want to catch up with you and your career. I know you have a football podcast.
Yeah, Debbie to Dynasty. I do with my buddy Brandon.
Say that again.
Debbie to Dynasty
Debbie-
football podcast. We have a YouTube channel too.
Okay.
I write for Devy, DEVY,
Yeah.
watch.com.
Okay.
A lot of college and football recruiting.
Mm-hmm.
And then also I'm on Twitter at All Purpose Scout.
All Purpose Scout on Twitter.
Yes.
Wow.
That's a whole different avenue.
Jay, I want to thank you so much for
Okay.
coming on the podcast.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening and watching, folks. This has been Career Expo, what you've always wanted to know. I'm your host, Keith Arthur. We'll see you next week for a new industry and a new career. Bye.
That was excellent. That was good. I never knew about you had to be a board the event.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
We did it. It recorded.